Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is everything in bloom on the 8th, on the 9th, due to circumstances which were in my Sunday chat video. It just happens. Sunday chat takes priority over everything in bloom, because Sunday chat is weekly basically, and is popular at the moment. Whereas the everything in bloom is once a month on the 8th, and when the 8th falls on a Sunday it gets pushed to the 9th, which is what's happened this time. And I've often said that one day we're going to get to the 8th and there won't be anything to film because there'll be nothing in bloom, and quite honestly it's not far off it this time. We have got some blooms. So we'll have a quick whip round. I'm not going to spend a long time doing this today because I am in the middle of doing other things. Basically I've just I did say I was swapping over the desktop for the brand new laptop, which I've done today, so that's up and running and is now the main computer, which simply unplugs and comes in here if I need to do a live broadcast. So that's all up and running. But I've also sold the previous laptop, and I've got to get that sorted out, packed, you know, shipping labels and all that sort of cobblers, and get that posted off within the time scales. So that's what I've been doing today. Right, it's a relatively quick whip round. I'm not going to do the Ristrepias, it's the same ones as last time, and in this light, because it's raining yet again, just for a change, I've got poor light quality. Trying to get in the lower shelves just isn't going to happen, it'll blur. So we'll just whip round the bigger stuff, and as I said, there's not a lot. There's my shiny new Hibiki, which we had a look at yesterday, with its single bloom, which is odd. And that is odd because this bloom is coming straight out of the apex of a cane. Now in the real world that's a distortion, because this is a cluster forming type of dendrobium, and the clusters come out farther down the canes. So that's unusual. We'll worry about that if it continues to do that, but at the moment it does have a single bloom. It's good to see that bloom back again, even though it is just a single one. But down the line we will get back to blooming this normally, hopefully. So that's that one. Now coming along the Tulumnias, this is not going to be so easy because again it's a size thing. We've got this nice pink one here, which in fact is, I've forgotten again, it's a good job I've been doing the label, that is Sunset Pink. And as the pink ones go, I like this a lot because it's not plain pink. If it'll stay still long enough for this to focus in this light, it might do. We might have to come back to it when it keeps still. The trouble is I'll knock it again. But it's a very attractive bloom. I like this one a lot. It's a single spike with all the blooms open at the moment, but behind it is another spike, and behind it is yet another one. So it's going to be in bloom a very long time. What I suspect will happen is, I don't know how much longer these blooms are going to be out, but these buds are starting to swell now, so these won't be too long. I'd say a week to 10 days and they'll be open. At and around that time I suspect these will be fading and starting to drop, but we may well get a branch on this first spike. So as this spike takes over and this one comes along behind, this one could be branching to follow up yet again. So this could be in bloom a very long time. Now I'm just going to poke the camera through the gap now and film that. Why I bother I don't know. That's a Dendrobium Phalaenopsis type with no ID. One of the spikes aborted. This spike is very poor quality. One of the blooms didn't even open properly. Not good at all. It's a very unhappy plant. Very badly marked leaves. But it has grown some roots recently, so what it needs to do now is get some new canes, and then I might keep it, otherwise it's on its way out, quite honestly. Right, back over to Tulumnias then. Now this one here is the golden thingy. Come on Roger, I'm going to do it this time. Golden Sunray Sunrise, without looking at the tag. Took about a year to get that. Now this is good because what we've got here is some newly opened blooms and some blooms that are about to fall. Now, believe it or not, these spikes are on the same plant. Those are the same blooms. But look at the quality of the colour of the newly opened bloom, which is hanging off my little finger at the moment, compared with those that are fading and about to fall. So there's a serious colour change goes on with this one, and I love it. But it's at its best when it's been open just a few days. Absolutely stunning. Patterning and the richness of the colour. And what we've got on this spike are the first of the branches, because the main spike dropped its blooms some time ago. So these are now the branches coming on behind. And I suspect as these fall, which is they're about to do it, with a bit of encouragement, they might start today. I suspect this will, yeah, it's just starting a branch there. So this one will branch as well. So again, this is going to be in bloom sometime. Coming over here, we got to Lemnis Peach. This is at all stages now. What we've got now is a spike here with blooms falling and a branch pushing on, forming buds already. So that's pushing out its branch quite nicely. So is this one over here. Blooms on here are going, and the first branch is forming. Whoops, there goes one on the floor. I knew if I encouraged them they'd fall. There's another one. Came off in my hand, Your Honour. And this is the last spike to probably drop its blooms, and at the moment has no spike showing, but I know it's there. It's on the end of my thumb. That little nub in there is the start of a spike. So all three spikes on this one, which is to Lemnis Peach, are going to branch. Two are already doing it, one's going to follow up. Unfortunately, there'll be quite a gap, because I suspect all of these blooms will have long since fallen off before the buds open on the branches. But at least it's branching. So that's going to be with us a while, but there'll be a gap on that one. Up here we've got some Cattleyas. We've got this no ID big and blousy, as I call it, which virtually got, well, it was put onto the dining room table to throw away because the plant is so tatty. And then out of the corner of my eye I saw an old sheath that looked slightly not quite right, and I had a closer look and there was a bud pushing up through the sheath. So I thought, oh well, we'll stick it back and at least let it bloom, and that was the result. Quite an attractive bloom actually, and if the plant bucks its ideas up, I'll keep it now, because I do like that bloom. It's a good size and a nice balanced shape. The BC Make, the blooms are starting to fade now from its original lovely deep colour. It gradually fades and the petals and sepals turn almost white. The spotting disappears until they are virtually white, and the spotting on the lip starts to disappear, and the veining, and over a period of a very long time they turn from deep colours with very emphatic markings to an almost white bloom, and then they fall. But it takes a long time to happen. Right, over here we've got another couple of Cattleyas. This is the one with the really long name that I filmed for Insert a while ago, so we've had a good look at that one. That's the Shin Fong Little Sun, and it's the named variety Young Min Golden Boy. Lovely deep orange, that one, and if you compare it with the one next to it, if you looked at this one on its own, you'd say, oh, that's a lovely golden orange sort of colour. But when you put the two together, the depth of the orange on the one on the left is great. It's a really deep orange colour, which is why I got it. And then this one over here is just a no ID. It's just a Cattleya hybrid of some sort. And again, I was attracted by the delicateness of the lip. Lovely frilly edges to the lip with that tinge of red on that colour. I liked that a lot. See, now if that had been that colour orange with a bright red lip, I'd have put it straight back. Well, I wouldn't have picked it up in the first place, because those colour combinations don't appeal to me. But that orange with that subtle hint of red, I absolutely love. Well, we all got different tastes, I suppose. Oh, my arm's aching now. It's holding it at arm's length. I'll include this. This is the Ranko stylus gigantea with its very poor quality spike, but it's in bloom, I suppose. It's about to go out the door. All the orchids to go that we did a while ago, people sent emails with their bids and everything. They've been replied to now, so the people who bid the highest for each individual plant have now been contacted to say that if they still want the plant, I'll be sorting the postage and everything out shortly. So this one might even get in the post with the blooms still on it, because I still don't know how long they last. They still look okay, they're still very firm and waxy, so that might go out the door, but it's just not a very good plant. It's had problems with its leaves in the past. So the only way it's ever going to look good again now is to get it in some really good conditions that it's happy with, build a better root system, and get some new leaves going, which if it's in the right circumstances will happen. They can grow quite quickly, like many Vandaceous types, but they need it right. And this one is not a high light, it's a lower light than normal Vandas, but it likes heat and good humidity. Provided with that, it's a steamy jungle plant basically. It'll get going and it'll do it quickly. So that's that one. We won't forget the tiny little Phalaenopsis down here. We usually do. It's the only one in bloom at the moment that is owned by me. I'll try and hang it and keep it still, but it's incredibly difficult because of the length of the spike. But it's a very pretty little flower. I'm not going to be able to keep that still, I just can't. It's because the spike is so long, and there we go. I was going to say, and wherever I put it, it wobbles. That's about as good as it's going to get. The markings on that are lovely, but it's such a small bloom. I mean, it's a mini Phalaenopsis at the end of the day, so but attractive, and it's been in bloom a hell of a long time. It's got 2 blooms left, and the one on the left is going to be gone soon. You can see the colour washing out of it. The one on the end hasn't been open as long and still has its colours, and it looks like it's extending and going to produce yet another bud. So we'll let it do it. That's what it wants to do, until the blooms get so far away from the plant that I find them annoying, in which case the spike will come off. Right, coming over here, the last few, we've got the Kuniko, Dendrobium Kuniko is back in bloom again, and it's blooming on a cane that I think that one has bloomed before. One of the older canes, not one of mine. This is one that was on it when I got it, and it's decided to have another little flurry, a few more buds, and then on canes that haven't bloomed before, we've got some more coming. We've got some more clusters pushing out, and they're in places that haven't bloomed before. So it's starting to move now. I think this area down here is almost bloomed out. I don't think we're going to get much more from this area, and then the blooms are going to move higher. And once these canes have completely finished and are starting to sort of shrivel a bit, they can be trimmed, and that'll make the plant look good, because a lot of the plant now is up here. It's not actually hanging down. When I got it, it was an upright plant. I decided to mount it and turn it upside down. So these canes were pointing that way, and when I mounted them, they went that way. And since then, it's decided to grow more upright. Well, if that's what it wants to do, I don't mind it doing it. But obviously, we have got some nice arching canes as well, which will bloom possibly this season. We shall see. Right, so that's that one. Dendrobiums again. We've got Dendrobium primadonna. One of my, well, it's the first of the nobly types that I've got left to come into bloom. There are other nobly types with buds, but none of them have opened yet. This plant's not blooming anywhere near as well as it should do, but it had a major disturbance, major interference at the wrong time of the year last year. It got left late into the growing season and was then split up, repotted and messed about severely. So it's a little bit, can't quite make its mind up what to do. It did grow some new growths last year, but they haven't bloomed. and they are a little shorter than they should be because they started late. And then some of the older canes have pushed out some blooms in places that they'd missed out the year before, so that's what that one's up to. Tucked in behind it, Dendrobium Alexandrae. These blooms are not going to be here too much longer. The colour's starting to go. They're losing their richness, so they're going to go soon. But I think this has been out about 3 months now, so good value for money as far as the blooms are concerned. And very unusual shaped blooms. I love them. And when they're freshly opened, the richness of the colours and everything is absolutely stunning. But the colours are starting to wash now, so it's going to go soon. And then last but not least, for this time round, is the Coelogene cristata, and it's a variety lemoniana, which I frequently say has got nothing to do with the colour. It's a variety that was found by a Mr. Lemon, and he put his name to it. But with a name like Lemon and a colour like that in the lip, you can see how people easily assume that it's the colour and not a person's name. Whether the other spike on here is going to move or not, I doubt now. It's had quite a long time sitting there doing nothing, but then this spike sat there and did nothing for a very long time as well. So, but this one's opened now. I don't know how much longer they're going to last, but they're looking good. Lovely patterning inside that lip. It's hairy, but it's like 2 rows of stiff vertical hairs. It's almost like the sort of sweeping up brush in a dustpan and brush set. But very attractive, lovely pristine white, lovely wavy petals and sepals with curly edges, lovely blooms. So yeah, and missed a year out. It didn't bloom this time last year, missed a year completely, so it's good to see it back again, even though it's not a good blooming. But again, the plant got disturbed last year, it's had to recover, and these don't like their roots being disturbed. And sometimes they can sulk for a very long time, Coelogenes, if you mess their roots about. Especially if you mistime it and get it a bit wrong and some of the older roots die back quite dramatically, it'll just sit there and do nothing for as much as a year, sometimes even longer. So they do sulk. So this one's coming back out of its sulk now, decided to bless us with some blooms, and in the not too distant future we should start seeing the new growths pushing out all over the place. And I'm hoping that this plant by the end of this growing season is going to be about half as big again. I'm hoping it's really going to take off this year. It's settled down in its new basket. It's got some roots, nice plump pseudobulbs to start the year with, which is one of the theories, I'll say that now, but a lot of the books and people who grow these say they should be quite dry in the winter, to the point where the pseudobulbs start to shrivel. Well, there's a Coelogene site dedicated to Coelogenes. I think it's just called coelogenes.com. Australian grower that's been growing them all his life, basically. And he basically says if you do that, you might get a few more blooms, but it's dubious. But what you will do is set the plant back at the start of the season, because as the season starts and it starts to grow, it'll use all its energy trying to plump the pseudobulbs back up instead of growing new ones. So you put a delay into the start of the season by keeping them too dry in the winter and letting them start to shrivel. So I'm going along the lines that guy doesn't do it, but more importantly, nor do Kew Gardens. Kew Gardens keep theirs growing. Keep them watered and stop them dehydrating. And if they do it at Kew, that's good enough for me. So that's that one. So yeah, that's everything in bloom for now. We will be coming into my main Dendrobium season in the next month or two when things will kick off a bit. But it's weird. There are 0 oncidiums in bloom at the moment. 0. Not even a spike. Nothing. Twinkles have all done their thing. And the things like the Laelia and that sweet sugar, they've been and gone. No, nothing. Absolutely not one oncidium type spike. anywhere. But there's an awful lot of new growths coming out. So they will be there later down the line. Oh, I tell a lie, the giant brassicas got spikes, hasn't it? We did look at that. I shouldn't be doing spikes really, but we'll have a quick look. These are all staked up now, so from last time when we looked, when the spikes were about there, well, they're now up to there. So, and the plant looks ugly with those stakes, but it's going to have to put up with it until such time as the spikes are big enough and strong enough and guided well enough that they might support themselves in an upright position, possibly with one stake in the middle and some small ties just holding them in place. But I'll worry about that nearer the time. We're not even to forming buds yet, we're just getting some spikes going. But five large spikes on that plant, so I lied, there are Oncidium type spikes, even though they're brassicas. Right, see you next time then. Thanks for dropping by.